What's up, guys? Hey, hey. Mm. All right, I'm going live here with Courtney. This thing is so mean that it doesn't give you a filter when you get on. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm waiting for Courtney to join me. What's up, everyone? I'm Lily. Oh my gosh. I just got back from the gym. And today I have an awesome convo coming your way. I'm hooking up. Where did I even get that word from? I'm connecting with my girl, Courtney. We met just kind of like when I got introduced to the animal-based world, and she was one of the first people like I found on YouTube, and then I looked her up on Instagram, and her diet has since shifted a little bit, and we're just going to talk all things just life of like being a woman and like all our years of dieting. And our topic today is meat heals, and just kind of like this journey that we're on eating a heavy meat diet and why it's important. So let me get Courtney on here and let's get this chat started. Oh, I thought I had my top on. Hey, Court. Yay!
Yay, hi.
Hey, hey. I thought I'd bring you some tropical views.
Nice. I love it. And I see you got like a little Buddha thing back there or whatever that is.
It is. It's a Buddha. That's our cold plunge.
Awesome.
And then we have our sauna right there.
Oh, I want a sauna so bad. Do you love it?
I mean, there's no words. There's no words. It's a dream come true. Like I never imagined that we'd have a sauna in our home, but it has become like our nightly ritual. The whole family does it. Like I actually host retreats here now because it's so, when you ask me do I love it, like I, after we redid our backyard and we included all of this, I would sit in my backyard and be like, this is amazing, I have to share this with people. I couldn't just keep it for myself, and so I opened up my home to doing retreats for women, and that's something that I do now.
That's
So
awesome.
it's amazing.
That's awesome. I thought I wanted a cold plunge, and then we went away for the weekend, and we were at Lake Arrowhead, and it was freezing. And my husband's like, "Get in. Here's your cold plunge." I'm like, "Okay, maybe we'll get a sauna. Like, I'd rather be warm than cold." But that's
I
so
can't
awesome,
do the
though.
cold without the heat. Like I wouldn't be, I see that people just have the cold plunge. No, I, even to this day, I'm not like excited for the cold. I love the combo because it's the most euphoric feeling. So that excites me. Like I have a saying that says, do it for the glow. But to just do the cold plunge, like on my own, no way. It takes a lot.
It's hard because I did 75 hard, and then one of like the things after, like the stages after or whatever, phase one or whatever, um, cold showers for like 5 minutes, and it was it was miserable.
Yeah.
But such good health benefits from it, though. It's really good for you.
Oh, for sure. But just give me the hot with it and then I can do the cold.
Totally.
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to prop this up here. So, Court, I'm so glad that we can connect and just kind of share the message. I titled it Meat Heals, but we're going to talk about all kind of things. But I guess tell us a little bit about you. I'll introduce myself too, but I want you to go first. Just tell us a little bit about you and just maybe how we connected, and and then whatever, and then I'll introduce our first little question.
Okay. So yeah, my name's Courtney Luna. I have had a wonky relationship with food forever, and just 6 months ago, I discovered animal based. I didn't even wasn't even on the radar to do carnivore. I started out with animal based, felt awesome. Did that for a month and then slowly got rid of the fruit. It wasn't making me feel my best, and now I've been strict carnivore. And yeah, I feel like we've kind of met almost, I feel like at the beginning of my journey,
Yeah,
seeing you
and mine
share
too.
yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're pretty much like right out there at the same time. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. I mean, you kind of know this too. We've both been showing up on social media before eating this way. So like having that shift and sharing that with others too has been interesting. Yeah, so I'm 6 months in and I've never felt better, and this is how I will eat until it doesn't seem to be working for me anymore.
All right. Well, I love that you say that because it is kind of scary. I mean, my audience has seen me go through them all. I've been vegan. I've, done the clean eating mainly, lots of plant heavy. My diet was very plant heavy, very clean eating, and so yeah, I've done intermittent fasting. I've just had different phases, and I've always been open to sharing the journey. And I think that that's so important for us to be like, I mean, I just in my personality, I can't see myself doing something like forever. But I think the difference with this is that it's how we feel, right? Like what's keeping me on this is how I'm feeling. I struggled with digestive issues my whole life that I just normalized and thought, oh, it's genetics. There's not much excess gas. If I ate the wrong thing, that's it. The rest of the day, I was just a machine gun. Like it was unstoppable gas all day long. And I actually stumbled on this lifestyle when I discovered organ supplements. My mom introduced me to ancestral supplements, intestines formula, and without changing my diet, but simply incorporating intestine supplements, I saw a drastic change in my issues. And it helped me so much. So I thought, dang, if a supplement could help me, imagine if I like just changed my whole diet to like eat more like this. And that's kind of how I got started with that. And so for me, there's no going back. I can't go back to how I was feeling and how much it was affecting my life. So, I've made little tweaks and I have introduced other foods like not non-animal based in moderation. But for me, that's just, I'm still new in this. I suspect that as we go, we may evolve as we go. I'm only 5 months into this as well. So tell us a little bit about that, like that relationship with food. What was it like? I mean, I'm sure, were you a clean eater? I think you shared with me that you also did Beachbody for a time too.
I did. I never followed their
Meal.
like the meal program.
Okay.
Everyone else was like the two bunnies. What is it? Like the
Oh
2B
yeah, 2B
mindset.
mindset.
Yeah.
That's how I ate, very plant heavy. It was veggies most. So yeah, I
Yeah,
followed that.
veggies most. So it's like you're filling your plate with a ton of veggies. And to me, it's kind of like looking back on that, it's like, well, you're losing weight also because you're filling your plate with not a lot of calories. Like you can eat a lot of volume with vegetables and not be having a lot of calories. So, anyways, I didn't totally do that, but I was low carb and keto when I was doing Beachbody and I was tracking my macros. So, I was also very veggie heavy to also be able to eat a lot of volume,
Yeah.
and protein, a lot of protein. So, I've been keto on and off for like 6 months. um, Always had an issue with like being addicted to any sort of keto treat. So for me, it was always a vicious cycle, having those sugars or the fake sugar or whatever. So that was like always an issue for me. Um, I feel like I was going to say something else and I went off on a tangent.
Um,
Oh, before I came to carnivore, I got caught up in the anti-diet culture. And I'm like, yeah, like I don't need to track. Like, mind you, I had lost like 50 pounds doing keto low carb. I don't need to track. I can eat everything in moderation. No, I cannot. I gained like 40 pounds in 4 months because to me, it was a drug. Having that sugar, it's like, okay, where can I get that next hit? Where, you're getting these dopamine hits essentially from food. So that was like horrendous for me. So for me, why this works so good is it's just kind of like, a smoker or a drinker. Like you can't just, tell an alcoholic, oh, just like have a drink on the weekend. Like that's not going to happen. Or if you're a smoker, oh, just have one a week. Like, so for me, there's no moderation. I'm not good at moderating things. So I just abstain. And that works best for me because now I'm not going through all those mental gymnastics every day, trying to see if I can fit all these different foods in my macros and all the treats and like the low carb tortillas I loved so much. And I would eat like 4 of them. That's like 45 grams of fiber. Like talk about a
yeah.
machine gun, like you said, like
Yeah.
it was never about health for me. It was always about losing weight.
Wait,
And so,
yes.
yeah.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to ask you, because for me too, my health journey was always connected to the amount of weight that I lost. It sounds crazy, but the reason why I'm standing on top of my platform, on top of a mountain to spread the message of like ancestral eating and eating more meat and stuff like that is because I waited 43 years to stop normalizing this. I waited 43 years to actually say, wow, I could actually live my life with better digestive and not be running to the toilet. And, like I just thought that is just how life was. But as long as I was thin, I didn't make the connection that mattered, this whole idea of like, I mean, I guess I kind of did, but I didn't do anything drastic about it. I started doing some food eliminating, which did help me. I realized like hummus, I would have hummus and carrots every day. That was my healthy fat and my snack. And I literally would have it every day and be like, gosh, I eat so healthy. Why is my stomach in shambles? Well, little did I know that the garbanzo beans, the hummus, and it could have been the seed oils in the hummus, because I was buying like the sabras, I really wasn't, it's like I was thinking about seed oils, but not too much. But anyways, so wait, where was I going? This is just going to be one of those like, wait, where were we?
Yeah.
Oh, weight loss. I wanted to ask about weight loss. So Courtney, if there was no weight loss doing the carnivore diet, would you still continue this, do you think?
I would, because I feel so good, but I feel like eventually there's going to be weight loss, even because I know some people like struggle and they don't think they're losing weight in the beginning. And that could be like whole other issues that don't have to do with carnivore diet. You could actually be building muscle and the fat, but the scale stays the same. Or how's your sleep? How's your stress? So that being said, I would continue, because I would trust that doing all this healing and getting your not only mental state, but your body to like a nice, like just good, healthy place, that weight loss is going to come around. Like you can't be, you know, like I think I'm like super healthy now. You can't be that and still like not be at a nice optimal weight. Like I think your body will kind of just like figure it out.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't worry about the scale. I just got like off of a 1 month stall, and it was like, it's fine, it's coming. And then sometimes you
Yeah.
have those like whooshes where it's like you're stuck, and all of a sudden the next day you're like, oh, well, there it is. The
Yeah.
scale finally caught up. So yeah,
Yeah.
I just feel so good that's the bottom of the list, the weight loss. All the other like health aspects, like that's where I'm at. How about you?
Yeah. When I started this, because it was simply to heal, like all of the reviews, remember I started from the supplements. So I was reading Amazon reviews on these supplements and just hearing these life-changing stories. Like I started, and right away I got my husband on the heart supplements, and he was taking blood pressure. Is it high blood pressure? Yeah, blood pressure. He has like genetic high blood pressure, and he started taking the heart supplements. That month he had his appointment to meet with his cardiologist, and he's like, you actually have low blood pressure, we need to, and because he started taking the heart, and I was like, this stuff's like, this is so cool. And that's when I started diving into it. And for me, it was like for healing. So I said, I'm not going to focus on weight loss. I did lose 10 pounds, but it took me like 3 months to do that, where people are trying to lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks now these days, or a month. So almost 3 months till I hit that 10-pound mark. I'm 5 months into the lifestyle, well, into animal base, and it's kind of fluctuated. Like I'll be up 5, then down 5. Like it's just like right now I just started lifting heavy, and so I'm being patient. But the reward of how I feel with my stomach, honestly, that's my only issue. I did not have issues with sleep, with stress, with energy. I've always felt, so that's what's been frustrating for my journey, because when I went plant-based, everyone was like, oh, you're gonna feel amazing. And I was waiting like, wow, I already feel good, like I'm gonna feel amazing. Like I waited to be plant-based and be like, oh, but I was like, I already felt pretty amazing. It was just my stomach issues. And with plant-based, like my stomach was horrible for 3 months that I tried it. It was horrible. And again, that's why what we're teaching here, I never heard of any of this. To me, veganism and eating a lot of plants is like optimal health. Like that is the pillar of like, you know, magazine covers. I was just listening to this on a podcast. When they, anything health related, you're never going to see a slab of steak there. It's always going to be veggies. And so that is just what we're programmed to believe is the most optimal healthy thing for us. And so we consume so much of it, not realizing that they could actually be hurting us, and never hearing about the anti-nutrients and the oxalates and all this stuff. Like we never, I mean, had you ever heard of any of that about plants harming us?
No, and that's what's weird is, like I said, I've been on and off in the keto world for 6 years, and I never once heard of carnivore, never once, until Paul Saladino started sharing on TikTok. So I feel like, you know, people are starting to learn more about this and maybe like wake up, open their eyes to see what's going on. I think like in part to him sharing that because it's starting to get a little more attention, and not mainstream, but you know, it's starting to get out there. But yeah, I was completely out of the loop. I never once thought that vegetables could be bad. I thought it was crazy when I first saw, like my husband was sending me his videos. I'm like, we're not supposed to have vegetables? Like, what the hell is this about?
Oh, me too. And I thought it was blasphemy. And for a while, I'm like, how could I share that with a straight face when I was so vegetable? All of my recipes, I even had an ebook that I never launched. And now it's so interesting. I'm like, that's why I never came, like I had it all typed out, but it was very plant focused. And so I don't know, maybe that was my stall, why I never came out with that ebook, because I was never supposed to put that information out there. I don't know. But yeah, I thought it was like so blasphemous to say any of this, but the proof is in, you know, the results of how you feel. And I do want to say, Courtney, and I don't know if you tell me how you feel a little bit about like thinking that your diet is supreme. Like, should everyone be a carnivore?
You know, it's funny because I think about that a lot. Like, because to me, especially with what I'm learning, like I'm learning that this is like the optimal way to eat. And I don't, it's hard to not be like, oh, I can't believe you eat that. Like my diet is so much better than yours. I kind of catch myself having those moments just because of everything I learned. That being said, like I don't want to be like dogmatic and think that what I'm doing is the only right way. I do think, you know, people can have success with having some fruit. Like for me, I can't do the fruit. It's gonna like trigger the sugar cravings. At least animal-based, someone's saying, yeah, I think, you know, as long as the fruit's not too crazy, because then you have that whole Randall cycle thing. If you're having a super high fat diet with a shit ton of carbs, you know, like some people are promoting, like that's going to catch up to you and it's going to age you. So yeah, I mean, I think we can all be on the same page that we, you know, carnivore or not, to like minimize or get rid of the sugar, you know, the seed oils. That's a new topic for me too. If you are going to be having vegetables, maybe look for ones that are like lower in oxalates. So I think there's definitely some ways to go about it. It just depends on like how much healing you need. I mean, you know, I talk to a lot of people in this community, and just having like a small portion of a certain vegetable like makes them feel like shit, or it kicks in their health issues they had, or you know, it spikes their blood sugar. So there's so many like pieces to the puzzle. But I definitely think being higher, you know, on the meat eating side or animal based is probably the right way. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's people that feel awesome on vegan, being vegan, but I don't know, you know. What are your thoughts on that?
So I gotta say, I was a little turned off by the community because there was so much like judgment. I felt like, oh, it's not raw cheese. Like Paul Saladino preaches raw dairy, and it's like, if you're not having raw, then you're not official enough. Or if, you know, if it's not grass fed, then it's not. And there was so much of that I was a little like, oh, I don't want to be part of this like shaming society where I'm like shaming someone. Like, isn't that what we kind of don't like about what vegans do? That they just think anyone who eats meat, it's like, it's like, I don't know, I kind of did not like that in the beginning. And so I was pretty, you know, I think about my husband that would eat the same foods I ate and he felt fine. You know, he never felt like he needed any healing from foods. He felt fine eating the way that we were eating, but my stomach was in shambles. So I feel like it's different. It could be different for everyone. And I never, like, honestly, what I come back to is just like, do what works for you. And that's what I want to, it's something like Paul Saladino kind of, he says, hey, if you're thriving, then don't change anything. And I kind of agree with that part. Like, if you feel great eating all of your foods, like what you're eating right now, then of course, don't listen to me, don't listen to you. But if you are, you know, you have all of those issues, you have high stress, you're losing your hair, you have your, you know, your nails are brittle, you have digestive issues, you have hemorrhoids and diarrhea, and you have all of these other health issues, your stress is through the roof, you have excess weight, then yes, it, you know, it's up to you to not stay that way and to look for these alternatives. And so all I'm doing by speaking out about this is saying, hey, just in case you may be having these issues, I want to let you know what helps me. And I'll tell you this too, Courtney, like I told you, I host the retreat for women here. And now I'm telling them about these changes that I've made. And can I tell you that almost every woman that has come through here suffers from digestive issues. Almost every single woman has told me, oh yeah, whether they have gastritis, and so something is happening here. Something is happening that so many of us are having digestive gut issues. And yeah, like we have to find these alternatives, and we can't just think that it's normal. You know, we got to search for our own healing. So I just feel like if it works for you, like find what works for you, kind of.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like I've heard of people say like, "Oh, like I never realized how bad I felt until I changed to this way of eating." I think people get kind of used to like the little aches and pains or whatever, or they just kind of get used to how they're feeling and they think that's normal. So I would just even encourage anyone that's curious or anyone that has issues, try carnivore. It's the ultimate elimination diet. And then if you want to add things back in, then go from there. I'm not going to say
Correct.
everyone should be 100% carnivore, but I think it's a good baseline because you can thrive with only eating meat. You don't need the other stuff. That being said, if you want the other stuff, then add things back in, especially if you're having gut issues, and see like, you know, what feels good to your body for sure. That's the whole,
So
what is it, bio individuality or whatever that big
yeah.
word is. Like,
So tell us what is carnivore? What is the carnivore diet?
essentially, it's just, you know, any meat products. So any animals and any animal products. Ruminant animals would be ideal if you want to go super strict. Like the lion diet is just ruminant animals, water, and salt. But the carnivore diet allows for animal
Eggs.
products, so dairy, yeah, eggs, cheese. I'm not using any spices right now. I do occasionally, like if we're out somewhere and I have a sausage or whatever, but I'm not cooking with spices anymore. But I do have coffee. So spices and coffee are kind of like the gray area for carnivore, because obviously they're both plants. So it kind of just depends on the person and like your healing. If you got major issues, I'd give up the seasoning and then try adding it back in and see if you tolerate it.
You know what? I'm glad you brought up the topic about spices because so when I started this, I eliminated all my spices, only was using the salt. And I would say about my third or fourth month, I just started to introduce like some like Cubans we cook with adobo. And I used the Goya adobo and I was just like, let me just see how I feel. I did perfectly fine. So that week I decided I was making tacos for the family and I used the Siete brand, which I love that brand, and the taco seasoning, like it tastes so good. I decided to use that. If for the thickener, they use cassava flour. I'm like, oh, let me try this. Tore up. And it was the only different thing I did. So what's interesting is you would never think that, like, let's say a regular person just had taco night and they'd probably be like, oh, you see, the meat did this to me. Oh, the sour cream did this. And you would never think that it was maybe the seasoning. So that's why it is so important to eliminate the spices in the beginning, because you might be having a reaction to turmeric. You might be having a reaction to, but yet you blame the bigger, you know, the dairy, the meat, never thinking that it could be the spice. So yeah, no more taco seasonings for me. Well,
Yeah.
actually, spice. And I used to be a spicy girl. I loved spice, hot sauce on everything.
Well, yeah, the spice thing is weird for me too, because I mean, I used to cook for a living. So everything I make, you know, would have ingredients other than meat and would have like garlic and onions and spices. And so people, I get a lot of comments like, "Where's the seasoning?" Like on the TikTok. And for me, I just feel like my taste buds have even changed. Like
They
I
have.
don't even need that. It's like and I've said this before. I've heard it's like when a smoker quits smoking, they say that their taste buds like finally come alive and everything tastes like delicious. And I kind of feel like that's where I'm at, where things have just changed and I just crave that meat. Like my body just wants that meat. The salt is what really like brings out the flavor of things. Like I would never have something without a ton of salt on it. But I don't miss it. And it's weird. Like if you would have told me this a year ago, I
I
would think
know.
you're crazy.
I know.
Now, when you're having a regular diet, maybe not having spices would kind of taste weird. But I think when you're eating like this, it's what becomes delicious. And I love it. And I've had, you know, and I even when I eat, like we had a sausage out, like it's weird tasting all those flavors. And it's not like, oh my gosh, I miss this so much. Like I actually don't even prefer it anymore. Or I went to In and
Yeah.
Out, got a Flying Dutchman, and a little grilled onion snuck in. And I used to eat the shit out of those things, like extra grilled onions. And it was like, ooh, what's this flavor? And I didn't miss it. Like it was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's good, but like I'm fine without it. So it's just kind of weird how your body like changes and adapts to this too.
Yeah, let's talk about now the convenience factor, because you know good and well, especially as a mom, as like the biggest headache of life is like, what am I gonna make for dinner? And how cool is it that you just know, like there's no mystery. You're either gonna grill, the only decision is like, will it be a ribeye or will it be a chuck? Like that's it. But talk to us a little bit about the convenience factor of eating this way.
Yeah, like you said, all you need to decide is what animal are we eating tonight. You don't need to come up with two other side dishes because you know, most people are having a vegetable and some sort of like carb or starch. And I guess I am kind of doing that because my kids aren't strict carnivore, but it's at least for me, like it's just so easy and there's no like it's just your mental it's just mentally freeing, I guess,
It
to not
is.
have to stress about like what 800 ingredients you're going to throw together to make something. Unless you're making like a fun carnivore recipe, like I share stuff like that, but I share it for others. Like no one wants to see my burger patties every day or my steak, you
Yeah.
know? So it's fun to mix it up, but I'm just good with how
Right.
simple it is.
I agree, you know, and especially you were a chef. I'm a huge foodie. My whole page was like when I would poll people and be like, why do you follow? It was always your food, your food, your food. And so, I mean, that's partially why for me, animal based still feels very like to see that variety on my plate is still very comforting to me. The color of the avocado or a mango, and that's why for me, I feel like I could do that more long term, and I could still be like socially. I could, you know, be at the beach and take a thing of fruit, and you know, as opposed to just taking burger patties. But but yeah, I just it's so just convenient to be able to just like whip up a meal really quick, even to like peel a banana, chop it up. Like that's just so easy. We don't have to sit there and rack our brains about what to cook. And I don't know about you, but like I crave every night. Like I've been lately, I'm like the picanha girl. I know they call it, I guess where you're in Cali, right?
Tri tip.
Right, is that what it's called, the tri-tip
Yeah.
cap? And the tri-tip cap is picanha. It's a big Brazilian meat. And I'm not Brazilian, but I love, oh my gosh, I go to Costco and I get it. And every night, like I can eat that, like I crave it. I love it so much. That fat with the yummy meat. And it's tender. And I feel like it's an affordable meat without
Mhm.
having to buy like an expensive ribeye. Like picanha hits good every single time. So that's why I'm loving that meat.
Yeah, I love that too. It never gets old. I get asked that a lot. Like, don't you get bored of eating this way? It's like I don't. Like, I wake up excited, but I think it's just because we're like used to it, and this is what we're eating. Like, I used to get bored when I would like meal prep, and not that I would eat the same thing like every week, but I would, especially when I was going hardcore tracking, I would have like the veggies and whatever, like ground meat or burger pies or whatever, and I would get sick of that. So
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, if it's something about ditching the vegetables and only having that. Because I would get sick of that. By day 3, I'm like, like I don't want to eat this anymore. But I'm eating the same stuff every single day right now,
Yeah.
and it never
Well,
gets
don't
old.
you think, Courtney, don't you think it's the fact that you can eat in abundance? That maybe like the idea of like your 2 burger patties and steamed veggies was like, oh, that's my portion. This is what I, but the fact that you know that you can, eat in abundance, add an abundant amount of butter and an abundant amount of salt. Like, I don't know. I wonder if that plays a role in why you're not tired, because you have an abundance mindset
Yeah.
to the way that
Yeah,
you eat.
maybe that, and then maybe also like having the added fat, because I mean steamed broccoli sucks. Roasted broccoli with a bunch of oil on it is yummy. So maybe that came into play too, just not having, I mean, you have a lot of fat on keto, but nowhere near what I'm having now. I'm having almost double the fat I had when I was keto. So I mean, that's where a lot of the flavor is, and that's where I feel like a lot of healing is. I mean, eat a stick of butter a day is kind of like the hot thing that's going around right now to like heal your hormones and up your energy. So, yeah, sorry, I'm just reading a question that popped in.
Uh,
I skipped my first cycle after eating this way. I wouldn't be concerned. I guess I can't give like medical advice, but I've heard it's common. Your body's going to get used to it, and then they're going to be so freaking easy. Like my periods are a breeze right now. Did you have issues with your cycle?
I never did, but I would get like at least 1 day of bad cramps. And yeah. And I also very emotional. I would get, and you know what? It has been so mild. Now that I can look at it, I would get, we almost would like, it would be like a time of the month where either I'm getting like super emotional with my husband, I'm crying over something on TV. And then the next day, it's like I go to the bathroom, I'm like, yep, I should have known. um and yeah, I really haven't had issues like that. So that was my only thing, a little like emotional, but never bad bleeding or cramps. I'm a 3-day period girl. I always have been. So
And you didn't skip anything. Yours have been right on time this whole
yeah,
time.
I didn't skip. So I don't know. I know it is concerning, because having a healthy period is good, but I would just say, don't stress out about that. Just keep on and just feel your body out. um
Yeah, and are you carnivore or are you animal based? Because like the carbs or lack thereof could come into play too. Yeah, I mean I don't want to tell you to not worry, but if it was me, I wouldn't be worried unless it like goes on for a while.
Yeah, or unless you're like trying to have children right now, that's a concern.
Yeah, but I mean all the success stories I hear of, even just with keto, for PCOS and fertility. So if keto
Yeah.
does that, I feel like, having a more cleaner diet with animal based or carnivore can be even better.
Yeah. Okay, so last question, and then I guess we don't want to keep this too long because people are going to be watching this on the replay. But we did title this like meat heals, and so if we could just talk about some of those misconceptions or things that you have learned about meat being healing, like why, how could you say that, and aren't you concerned about your cholesterol and heart disease eating this way?
Okay, so many things. Let's see. As far as the cholesterol, what I'm learning, and I'm still diving into this. Apparently, there's a book, I haven't read it yet, called The Great Cholesterol Myth, I believe, is what a lot of people recommend. Um, my understanding is eating this way, your total cholesterol will most likely go up a little bit. Um, but it's more than just that number. It's more than just like the HDL, or no, I guess the LDL is the bad one. It all comes down to like the ratio between them. The triglycerides are important, the particle size. So there's a lot more than just looking at the
Cholesterol.
the LDL or your total cholesterol. So there's a lot of people in the carnivore community, a lot of like doctors or whatever kind of specialists that can also like go through that with you and go over your lab works. So you could always do a search on that. What else were you saying? Like the heart health and stuff?
Yeah, or like, why is meat healing? People don't realize, like, people will say, well, where do you get your vitamins and your nutrients from? It's like the meat. It's
Yeah.
full of so many different health benefits that we kind of were overlooking, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was nuts in the beginning. I'm like, meat has all we need. Like, how is that? Because I think, at least for me, you think of meat, you're like, okay, you're definitely getting some protein, you're getting some iron, calories, fat. What about everything else? Well, a lot of the other stuff, there is tons of micronutrients in there, tons of vitamins and minerals. They're going to be on like the lower end on some of them. Like, I know, like for vitamin C, like there is a very trace amount, but when you are on like low to no carb diet, especially like carnivore, like obviously you're getting vitamin C in your fruit, but if you're not having any fruit, the meat's going to have enough vitamin C to ward off scurvy, because also like our requirements are going to be lower than someone who is actually eating carbs. So that wouldn't be a concern. But yeah, I mean, it's just so nutritious, and that's more bioavailable than plants. So I mean, your body can do way more with the nutrients than it can if it's getting them from plants. And so like
Yeah.
the other thing is like the heart health, you know, and people worried about their cholesterol and their arteries. We're actually going to be, oh, his book is right over there. Interviewing Dr. Obadia soon. He's a heart surgeon. And so I'm excited to talk to him like more about this and heart health and cholesterol and arteries on all that. And he's not like, I don't believe he's strict carnivore, but he does advocate for a high meat diet. He says the majority of the people on his operating table have low cholesterol. So we need
Oh,
cholesterol
wow.
to survive.
Yeah.
Our body does make it, but it's important to get it from the animals too.
Yeah, I can almost remember the shift. I remember my parents coming home with fat free, like when fat and meat started becoming demonized. And I remember my parents coming home with fat free pastries, like the Entenmann's coffee cakes. And it was like, guys, this is fat free. And just thinking it was like the coolest thing. And that was like the beginning of fat being demonized. Like, this is not good for us, and like cut it out. And wow, to think how much like the health of this country has, kind of declined from that time, thinking of, all the obesity, and like from 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't where it's at today. And like something happened when we started demonizing fat and animal products. Remember, eggs give you high cholesterol, so we went to the egg whites. And meat gives you cancer, so you did the lean chicken. And it's like, where has that gotten us? Another thing is, I remember eating that way, I was always hungry. Oh my gosh, I had to eat or chop someone's arm off. Like, I was ravenously hungry. After a workout, I had to eat because I was so hungry. Well, come to find out, we're just malnourished. We're nutrient deficient. And that's why you're always hungry when you're eating so clean, because you're just not getting all the nutrients that you need. So
Exactly. And all that came around from, it's like follow the money. Like you remove the fat from things. Well, the fat is what has the flavor. So you have to put something in it. Sugar. Sugar is fat free. It sounds great.
yeah.
So things that are labeled fat free, like you just want to think of it as a chemical shitstorm. It's either going to have sugar or other
Candy is
garbage
fat
in it.
free. Sour
Yeah.
Patches are fat free. So it's
Yeah. So, sugar companies had great marketing to get rid of all that fat because it's unhealthy, and we're going to fill your products with this. And yeah, someone else said, who decides what high cholesterol is? Aren't the numbers studied and based on people consuming plants in their diet? Yeah. And they also just like lowered, or no, they like lowered the recommendation of like the number for high cholesterol. Like, it honestly, like, that's my thing. It's all about the money. There's studies. Everyone's like, oh, well, these studies. So a lot of these studies people are getting paid off to share this crap. I mean, even stuff just came out recently about the whole Alzheimer's thing, So I would just, I don't know, all this stuff. Things are demonized for people.
The new recommendations that the government made, putting cereal over eggs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, really? Wow. Yeah. Like, your brand is eat me, question everything, right?
Yeah, don't believe everything you're told, and don't just listen to what mainstream media is teaching you. You got to dig a little deeper because it's all bias and it's all people just looking to fill their pockets, really.
Okay, so last question. I keep saying last question. Do you feel like you're still in the process of transitioning? Like, do you have on the bandwagon, or have you been able to stay committed to this?
You cut out. Were you asking if I have cheat days? It sounded like.
Right. Do you have cheat days? Have you been able to be committed with this? What helps you when you have a setback like that?
Yeah, I have not had any sort of cheat day. I have not even had a bite of something. For me right now, I think it's too much in the beginning. And I don't even know if I'll ever get there, but even just sometimes like cutting my kids' fruit, it's like, oh, that sounds good. Like I won't even have just one because I just know it's gonna like be a slippery slope. And then the sugar is gonna go back in. And then I'm gonna start craving sugar again. And it's just like it's gonna take up too much mental space. So for right now, I have no plans to cheat, to have anything off, track. That's not to say I won't in the future, but like right now, I know like I will, it won't serve me well at all. And I don't really have a desire. Like I'm okay eating what I'm eating and I feel happy with it.
I know. I can't believe I didn't have one piece, still haven't, of Halloween candy.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's no like, oh, feeling bad about it. It's like, haven't even thought of it. Hasn't even crossed my mind. And if that's not like a miracle, what is? Like, come on, moms raid the Halloween bags for all the chocolate. All the kids know, here, you have the almond joy, mom. You have, because, they'll give you all the chocolates that they don't want to eat or whatever. And to me, that is something pretty miraculous. Like, women are such chocoholics. And to think that like Halloween came and went and it wasn't even a thought. Like,
yeah, I mean, this is the longest time I've like stuck with something. Like there would always be cheat days, always be cheat meals, which would trickle into a cheat week and I'd fall off track. Like 6 months without a bite of something that I quote unquote shouldn't have. Like I've never done that before and I'm okay with it. It's not like I'm sitting here like, oh my God, I want that chocolate bar. Like it's just something else that exists. Like it could be a TV. Well, I don't want to eat that TV, So it's just there and I have no desire. Rob was saying, and did Bill Gates plow millions into the vegan food companies? Yeah, isn't he trying to like make like lab meat, fake meat and all that? Yeah, hard pass.
Yeah, well, I was again listening to Brian from Food Lies podcast, and he has a meat company where he sells ground beef with like organ supplements, and he says there is no money in this, guys. This is why processed foods and all these plant-based like meats and stuff like that, there's money in that because it's very cheap to produce. And he's like, I am not like rolling in the dough with his meat company.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of people I've talked to, or like me and Devin talk about this a lot. She's like, yeah, I lived on farms. I talked to farmers, like cattle people, like they're just barely getting by. It's not, like at least like the small companies and stuff, it's not a thing. But yeah, you look on, all the shelves in the grocery store, keto food, regular food, whatever. It's all designed to keep you wanting more and be addicted to it and to make money. No one, they're not caring about your health. They just want to keep feeding your sugar addictions and make money off you.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, well, it was awesome talking to you. We could talk here forever, right?
I know.
But yeah, I guess in closing, maybe just share what are some of those things that you healed from? So your sugar addiction.
Yeah, I mean, long time yo-yo dieter. So having that like mental freedom and food freedom, that's amazing. My skin has cleared up drastically. I'm sure if I gave up dairy all the way, it would be a little bit better, but I'm fine with it right now. What else? So I'm off of my antidepressant and anxiety medications now. So I felt a huge shift in my mood. Digestive, there's no gas or bloating.
How long were you on the depression medication?
I was on probably for like, I want to say like 6 months. And then I tried to go off of it in January, had horrible reaction to coming off. And then when I was off, I was like, ooh, I am not ready to be off. That was 5 months before carnivore. So I went back on, and then I was carnivore in May, and I think I slowly weaned off, but I've been off for maybe like 2 months now. So, I mean, that right there, I feel like, medication has its place, and I needed it when I had it, but I think diet has comes into play so much and people don't realize. I wonder what it would have, if I even would have needed it had I been eating this way before.
Incredible. Like, I know I read that the other day when you're like, no longer taking medications, but it's like you read that and it's like, oh, cool. Like that's huge. That is huge that you obviously went that route because you needed it, and to have you say like you're off of it and you feel fine is incredible. So
Yeah, because it was never like perfect. So I could still tell, even when I was on them, that things were improving. So that's why I'm like, okay, well, I feel better than I did a few months ago. Like, let's slowly wean off and hope for the best. Hope I don't kill everyone. So
yeah.
yeah, it's that's been a huge one for
Yeah.
sure.
So for me, it's just that digestive issue, increased libido, because when you don't have stomach issues, ladies, you just can like be yourself and like really let loose. And I don't know, I have like that has been a huge one for me. The fact that I have a perfect stomach with no issues at night. At night was for some reason I'm like, why does my stomach always act up at night? Like the kids go to bed and then my stomach's like on high, like alert, like just killing me. And that was affecting me. It was affecting my time with my husband. And that's just a huge one. That's my testimony of like, I healed this and I'm just like in complete just shock because like I said, I lived with this all the time and just thought it was how I was going to always live because I thought it was genetic. So I want to share that with everyone, and that's kind of my message out there is like this whole meat heals and yeah. Well, you keep sharing your light, Courtney. We'll see. Sometimes I do want to like just experiment, maybe do less of the fruit. It's funny because I was having like two plantains. I was cooking them up. I just love platanitos. I'm Cuban and I'll either fry them in the actual, like if I do burger patties, I'll cook them in that grease or I'll just use ghee. But when I looked up, like each plantain has 87 grams of carbs and I was having two a day. So I was like, oh, wow, this is a lot.
Yeah, I mean it is. That's I mean because that's sugar
Yeah.
essentially, the carbs turn into sugar, so it is a lot. I mean, I get it. I It's delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe even because when I did fruit in the beginning, I was mindful of where my carbs were at. So I tried to at least keep it like under 50, maybe 75. So
Yeah.
maybe even if you just kind of play around with cutting it back and see how you feel.
Yeah, for sure. Because I still feel like there's a part of me that feels like even when Paul is sharing his recommendations, like, oh, this is what I eat, it's like, okay, that's good for you. But you can't just say that everybody can eat like that and we're all going to thrive. Like, I don't think there's enough like data. There's not, and there's no information really online about women and eating animal based. And like, there is not, there's very little information out there. Um, and so yeah, I just think it's still like experimental. I'm trying to like still figure out what's that right balance because I'm eating out less. I'm like not doing half of the things that I was, and it's not like the weight's falling off, which I would kind of think like, dang, 5 months into this.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it could be the carbs. That's a lot of carbs. He's like surfing for 3 hours a day. So that's probably how he's like burning it off. But that's still like a lot of sugar, I feel like, for
yeah,
anybody.
no, for sure. So yeah, I was when I was actually looking, I'm like two plantains a day plus, I'll have rice, and it's like, yeah. At the end of the day, my husband would joke around. He's like, "You're on the high fat, high carb diet." I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." So yeah, just because now I'm training, I hired a trainer, and yeah, I'm starting to like be in weight loss mode, like just trying to be more conscious because now that I know the foods that make me feel my best, now I just have to tweak a little bit. But
Yeah, and it's all about baby steps. I mean, we can't just do like everything at once or learn everything. Like there's so much information out there and so many ways to like tweak and self-experiment. So, yeah, just do it slow and do what works for you for sure.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you loved this combo. Definitely comment below. Did we answer all of the questions? Someone did ask, how did you come off your meds doing carnivore? I think you answered that. I don't know if you want to get a little more specific. That's
I will just
fantastic.
say something. Yeah. So my doctor, when I went on him, never once said anything about withdrawal symptoms when I went off. I thought withdrawal symptoms were for someone that just like went cold turkey and stopped. So when I went off in January, I had flu-like symptoms. I had brain zaps. It was awful. When I did it this time around, I did it way slower. Like she told me 2 weeks. That's insane. I took months. I cut my pills in half. I really did it drastically. Or no, not drastically.
Not
And then
drastic.
I also took like the ancestral supplements. I took brain supplements to
Oh,
help give me added brain support. I took magnesium too more often. Magnesium helps with anxiety too. So I just did everything I could to like give my brain some support. And my withdrawal symptoms were nothing like it was in January. I had like 2 days where I kind of felt queasy, barely any brain zaps. Like there was a few days where I'd look this way and that, and like it would kind of do it, but it wasn't bad at all. Like I could still go about my day. So yeah, I would just say low and slow, get a pill cutter and try the supplements. I don't know if it really did anything, but I mean, it might have. So that would
yeah.
be my tip.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, again, thanks for joining us. Leave your questions if you have more, and Courtney and I will be back to answer them. If you have any other questions as you guys are watching this on the replay. But thank you, guys.
Thank you. I love this conversation. Thank
Oh,
you for
wait, let's
having
take
me.
a picture, Courtney.
Oh,
Ready?
yes.
1, 2, 3. Wait, hold on. Okay. I actually closed my phone. 1, 2,
Oh
3.
gosh.
There, got it.
You cut out. Are you back?
I'm back. I'm back. Where am I? I'm here. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Thank you. See ya.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.